How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the Tazer podcast. Now, before we get started into the main show, I know a lot of what you're about to see is based on opinion. There are a lot of kind of accusations thrown about and, pretty strong opinions on stuff. So if you are easily offended, please don't watch. And if you're one of the people that we do mention in the video and you want a platform to defend yourself on, I wholeheartedly invite you onto the next podcast. If you want to talk to me about that, we can organise that, get in touch. But I thought I'd just mention this before we get started because, like I said, there's a lot of opinions being thrown about and stuff in this. Being a podcast, it's kind of normal. So now that's out of the way, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the show. See you later. How's it going, guys, and welcome back to the Tazer podcast. This has been a long time. Like a long time ago, I did a podcast and I haven't done it in such a long time, but now it is time to bring it back. Whether this will be a regular thing or not, I don't know, but it's time to bring it back. With some wonderful guests, we have Lucas Elliott, the host of the weekly Bleep.
Hello.
And we have Ross Wallace from Ross Wallace Adventures.
Hello.
And Warren from Warren Urbexing.
How do you do?
And we're here today to basically elaborate on my recent video, which, in case you didn't see, I'll just do a quick recap. We were talking about faking in the Urbex community being on the rise. And we spoke about a few different creators, namely Exploring Fighters and Proven Demons, who recently got into some controversy about a bone being found in a wall. They found a bone in the wall, called the police because they'd been directed there by a spirit box. And then the police came out and said that it was a hoax. So, but there's lots of other things we want to talk about as well. Lots of other creators who do the same sort of thing as they do. But that was where we focused in the main video. So I just wanted to sort of ask you guys, first of all, when we're first starting, what do you think on this situation?
Well then, I guess I'll go first. First of all, just starting with Exploring with Fighters. Obviously, me and you, Nathan, went on the trip with him.
Yeah.
I think it was almost a year ago now.
I know, time flies. It was over a year, I think
crazy.
It was.
At the time, I know that, it wasn't exactly a comfortable experience with him. This was before he sort of blew up on YouTube with subscribers and whatever. And, I think he's got a few serious issues. I posted a video on him the other day. And I actually ended up deleting it. Thing is, this was after the controversy with finding this apparent bone in this building on the wall, and he actually messaged me and asked me to make a video on him.
Because I wanted to talk about this actually, because this is a point that because you did your video first, didn't you? You did your video before I did, and it was met with controversy.
Yeah, well, initially...
he actually wanted you to make a video on him and this bone that he stole from a mansion.
Yeah, he
and
did.
then planted in a wall.
Yeah, I'm going to play you a sound bite right now, actually, that he said. You should be able to hear it. But this was him basically asking if I can make a video on him. He was making himself out, putting himself in a pretty good light, really, and I believed him because I to be honest, I don't really know the guy very well. So I did believe him, and I was like, oh, fair enough, yeah, cool, I'll make a video on this. Anyway, I'll play you the sound clip now. And
okay.
Yo, sorry it took so long to reply. I've been busy as hell. So basically, I was involved in a video a few weeks ago, and it involved finding a human bone in a wall. So it turned out there's a small YouTube channel who planted it there for us to find because we went there over numerous nights. But they planted it there, informed the police, and said that it was wasting police time. I didn't get in trouble with police or anything because I proved that we didn't prove that we didn't plant it. We proved that I wasn't the one who had the bone. Some other guy who we know found this bone and has had it for months. Anyway, it's a big controversy. And it'll probably make a good video. I've got hundreds and hundreds of people asking me to make a video explaining what the hell happened because I've not said anything on my channel because I don't want to promote this channel that dumped the bone there.
But the best stuff is that paranoid. I can't even remember the channel name. That guy that wasn't there, supposed to be there. That he wasn't even there at the £10 million mansion when that bone was stolen.
Yeah. So hang on, before we jump the gun a little bit, explain about the £10
Oh,
million
sorry.
mansion, because obviously I've done this on my community tab. Some of you guys may have not seen it, but basically that we've pretty much figured out where the bone has actually come from. So obviously, Warren, you're the one that said about it. So.
I was actually told by someone I'm not going to name because obviously I don't want to get him in shit as much as I'd love to, but hey, I'm not going to name them, but they actually said to me that they was there with Dan Dixon at the time. He stole it on the basis that he was not going to need it there at that mansion because that mansion was good enough for his views and viewers and all that sort of stuff. So he took it and kept it for another time, and he said, I'll keep that. That's going to be my little keepsake from this mansion. Obviously, this is after that me and Dave have actually been there exploring the mansion when we went back there to go and check out the Royal Pleasure Dome bar. And as Nathan saw in the video, and you can see in the live video I done there, David, the abandoned world explorer, actually comes round with the bone pretending it's his dick, and obviously he's just waving it around, and I say he's got the bone on. We then leave it on the bar. And then in Dan Dixon's video, you can actually see the bone clearly on the bar. And then 10 seconds later in the video, the bone's completely disappeared from the bar when he comes to the bar from a different side.
Yeah, so these are the screenshots that I posted on my community tab yesterday, actually. And it's very, very clear to see in the video. You can see one shot, it is on the bar, and another shot, when it comes in from a different angle, it's completely disappeared. It's not there. I mean, of course, that's not to say that they took it with them, but it's very suspect that they found a bone in a wall, and then a bone you've seen goes missing from a mansion, and you can clearly see it disappearing in the video.
Yeah, and it's very funny how that same bone that was seen on Dan Dixon's video that he found in the wall looks identical to the one that was actually at the £10 million mansion before it went missing at the £10 million mansion.
I think what makes all of this even more concerning is it goes beyond, because not only has the bone just been placed there, it's actually been stolen from an abandoned place.
Well, yeah, this is it. Like,
and that's part of the rule of...
This is what I said in my videos, where he seems to have completely forgotten the whole... The premise, the rules around Urbex, don't take stuff, don't damage stuff. He's broken 2 of those rules already, so what other ones has he done?
I'll tell you what that is. I think it's he's incredibly manipulative from my experience with Dan just over Facebook messages. He's incredibly manipulative. And I don't know what he was thinking with me by messaging me, of all people, as well. I haven't done any exploring videos for about a year. I think it might be something to do with the fact that I made a video on Mosagi a few months ago. But
I think it's also to do with because your show as the Weekly Bleep is sort of to do with not necessarily exposing, but like it's definitely part of it is the exposing of other people. And I think maybe he thought because of you had the ability to clear his name, I think is what he actually thought, wasn't it? Basically.
Yeah, and it's glad to hear your side as well, because it's something where I was quite confused when I seen that video go up, and I kind of thought, why were you sticking up for him?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I had to then remove that video and apologise to all of my subscribers for basically being fooled by this guy. Because he seems so adamant. I mean, I've got so many more voice messages here. I'll play later on in the podcast, maybe, or unless you want to hear him now. But he describes in detail, his innocence, basically. And what I don't understand is I think it's a clout thing. He wanted the exposure, whether it's negative or positive. I don't really think it actually mattered to him at this point, because he's got this kind of big following now.
To Dan, he doesn't actually care, to be honest, from what I get the impression of, because I've had my run-in with Dan, because he sent me a few messages through Messenger, all pretty much offering me out, but not actually offering me out. And I just turned around and said, well, if you want to come down, I'll meet you, it's not a problem. And he didn't like that and then blocked me on Facebook. But with Dan, I think he doesn't actually give a monkeys, because any normal person wouldn't go to an abandoned building, even if someone had said, I've got a spirit and it's told me it's in the wall or anything, even if that was genuine. Right, and I actually believed in ghosts and stuff like that, I wouldn't go to an abandoned building with a hammer and chisel and smash out a brick wall to find a fake bone, whether it's planted or not, even though we know it's planted, because we've got so much evidence to say that it's planted. But even if that bone was there in real life, I still wouldn't have gone there with a hammer and smashed it up and caused criminal damage in a building that has nothing to do with it.
Well, yeah, in my opinion, this kind of moves on to a whole kind of different area, which it kind of when you look at channels like what's that channel, Nathan, that you mentioned the other day? Was it that crazy one with the Santa
J
thing?
Station.
J Station,
Black
right?
Santa or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. J Station. He posts these ridiculously stupid, obviously fake videos, which he calls our entertainment. That's the same thing that Mo said as well in response to my video. Was, oh, it's just entertainment. It might just be entertainment, but there's people that do this for real. They don't plan anything. They just walk into these places and they don't know what's going to be there. Whereas some people walk into these places all planned out. They know what this is going to happen, that's going to happen. And I think there's two sides to it, really, because I think the argument for, oh, it's entertainment, and to be fair, a lot of these videos that are done for entertainment, in quotes, they get a lot of likes, and that's another thing that's kind of, you got to remember, is that people do find it entertaining, but then you have got explorers like yourself, and
I think there's the difference is, there's a massive difference, like I said in the video, with doing entertainment and people knowing it's entertainment, and doing entertainment and people pretending it's real. And it's kind of what I touched on with a lot of things like Mosargi and Lewis Clark, and not so much J Station. I mean, J Station's overly, like, you can tell it's fake, but it's not. It's just ridiculous. His channel. I used it as like the extreme, basically, in that example. But in terms of like Lewis Clark and Mosargi, they tell their audience that it's real, that what they're doing is completely unscripted and fake. I mean, I actually had Lewis Clark reply on that video.
I saw his comment.
And he turned around and said, I think you totally misunderstand what I do. I've never been an urban explorer. And I was like, but that's not how you've portrayed yourself. That's not how you've portrayed yourself.
Never been an urban explorer, but yet every single video is stabbed in an abandoned building, locked in an abandoned asylum. Yeah, okay,
well,
you're not abandoned.
The way he says it is it's entertainment based around the subject of urban exploring, but then that's not how you portray it. Like, literally, you've had videos where like someone like Marky has called you out, and basically you've turned around and said, oh, he's lying, it's just a hater, it's all real, I guarantee it's all real. And they've eventually come out and said, no, actually, I was lying. Well, then which is it? Are you telling the truth or you're lying?
Yeah. I think a lot of these are also compare themselves. Do you know these shows that are on mainstream, television, like Ghost Hunters and stuff?
Yeah, like Most Haunted, like I said before, yeah.
Yeah, right. So they compare themselves to those shows by basically saying, "Oh, it's obvious that it's not real."
Yeah, it's not. The thing is, but again, there's impressionable audiences. There's lots of audience, especially with YouTube. They're really young. Kids don't understand. I mean, just recently, actually, in my local area, have any of you guys heard of the game Yarn Deer Simulator? It's basically a game based around girls that have an attraction to some guy at school, and they want to eliminate the competition by killing them. And it was basically a game based around that. And recently, in my area, they had to take a knife off somebody, a young 10-year-old girl at school, because of the fact that she said that she was going to carry out these killings based on the Yarn Deer Simulator thing. And that's how impressionable they are. That sounds crazy to most of us. But
yeah, no, it's not crazy at all, though, because that's what I mean. Like these creators who come up with these crazy stories, particularly Mosargi, which the guy I went into quite a bit of detail talking about his crazy stories. He had this, he had a whole sort of world set up, fake world set up surrounding his videos, but. Yeah, and what shocked me was at first I kind of did think, oh, there's no way people actually believe this shit, and but then after posting the video and seeing the comments of mainly younger people, well, comparing the younger comments to the older people's comments, these younger people they actually believe, oh my days, like this guy, he's been possessed or he's been whatever, and it's just like, no, man, like that's
well, exactly. It's like the Black Santa thing. Like we're like, oh my god, that's hilarious, but we just look at it as an adult perspective. We think it's crazy, but there's people, young audience members, that will watch that and go, Jesus, Black Santa's an asshole.
Avoid Black Santa. Jeez.
So I wanted to also touch on some of the comments, because one of the things I said in that video as well, that as I wanted to basically get everyone to comment, and we got honestly, thank you everyone who commented on that video, over 150 comments, which to some creators that's probably not very many, but to me that's quite a lot. So thank you everyone who did comment on that, constructive or not, whether it was good, bad, whatever, it was still input. So I don't know if you guys have had a look on the comments and there's any you want to pick out at all.
I'm currently in the process of winding Lewis Clark up on this comment because I've never seen
really?
it. Yeah, I'm just currently winding him up.
I'll start because one of the ones that I wanted to point out was actually by Flex Urban Exploring, who
he was also on the road trip with us.
Exactly, yeah.
Year.
So obviously you and I have met him, and from my point of view, he was one of Dan's pretty good mates. So I was expecting a completely different response, and his comment on my video is 100% agree. It's all out of hand. I've worked with Dan on many videos, and well before all this came out. Most stuff is fake, but he used to be good and interested in his work. But now I think he has just fell off the edge and needs to stop. And that's coming from somebody who I would consider a friend of Dan.
This was quite a worrying thing from the outset. I brushed quite a lot off from what, meeting people and going through the community, and you get stories told, but I don't usually believe in hearsay. But for how much I've been sort of told by different people, and I don't know exactly why Flex has maybe fell out with him, but he's sort of made that clear that he has, even when I spoke to him, and I briefly spoke to him in chats, and we spoke about meeting. It's just with his work and his little ones, and obviously my same, and it's hard to find the time, where we've got, because I believe he goes exploring on weekdays, I only get weekends, so but we are in talks with trying to meet up. But I don't know exactly what happened there. But there's been quite a few people that I think have had the same, that have met him, and they fell out with him for different reasons. And when you hear all that, I think I kind of tried to call him out on that. When the Bone video happened, I sent him a message and saying, I think you've seen it, haven't you? I posted in the
I'll put a
before.
screenshot. Obviously, you guys can't see it right now, but while we're recording this, but when I edit the video, you guys will see the screenshot.
It takes me a lot to maybe send a message where I'm just calling him out, but he messaged me saying, because I put a post up tagging him in it where the article came out, and I sort of called him out and said, "You're a liar. I've heard this, I've heard this, I've heard this. There's only so much can be said. No matter how many subs you've got, views you've got, I don't want to know you." I think I maybe said a naughty word, which I won't say on the podcast. But,
which I'm gonna say actually, because that surprised me, because you're normally quite placid.
Exactly, and it takes me a lot to get like that, I think. And I think it's also because I have been talking to Dan in messages, and there's been times when I was pursuing to maybe meet, and then it just seemed like he went distant. He wasn't bothered when he started getting his sub count up. But at the end of the day, he was busy. Everyone has their own time, and I can understand that. And on explores where everyone's met up, you don't want too many people, as I've always said to you yourself as well.
Yeah. God, yeah, I'm into that.
I think more than 3-4, you're kind of pushing it. But I think it took me a lot to send that back, to be fair, and I was quite surprised with what I got back, and it kind of shows his personality deep down.
Well, I mean,
I think he kind of comes across as...
What was it, like, be quiet, small fry or something?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just
but then, at the end of the day, he shouldn't be saying that to other people, because I'm not being horrible. He's not exactly the tallest of people himself, so he can't go around calling people small fry. And I have stood next to him, and I think that was the longest and the most uncomfortable time I've ever been around someone, because I didn't want to say anything.
Well, actually, hang on, Warren, one sec. When you were stood next to him, that one time that you've met him and you were stood next to him, what was he doing? Why was he there?
Oh, well, he was digging his way into some sort of tunnels or some shit up in Manchester. Where did we meet him? It was Manchester.
It was Manchester, the outskirts of Manchester.
We had to go and get Neil's camera back on the road trip this time last year, because Dan had it for about 4 or 5 months and refused to send it back to him or some shit like that. So, but he is a bit funny with leaving his stuff here, there and everywhere, so you can't blame Dan.
He's forgetful.
For Neil leaving his camera. But apparently it took him over 6 months to get his camera back from Dan and his gimbal, and we had to go and meet him on the road trip and go and do it, and then he's there with Dark Arts Paranormal, digging a massive hole into some shelters with. But
this is it. Like, this is during his like big series that took off, his underground series that like made him who he is today. That really kind of took off and catapulted his channel into the atmosphere. We basically met him when he was on one of those explores, when he was doing that, and like I said,
we chose not to go. Actually, we chose not to go. I remember we were in.
This was before. This was after then. It was after then. This was.
Right, okay.
This was January last year. Oh, no, yeah, we'd gone on the Sheffield road trip, and we've gone to meet up with him to get Neil's camera back, and basically they were pickaxing into an underground tunnel.
Wow.
For their series, and he openly said this to us.
My thoughts on that is it gets to a point with a lot of YouTubers these days in general, really, where you hit a certain mark, hit 100k or whatever it might be, and you start actually making serious money off of it, and you need to one-up yourself. I think this is what you mentioned in your video the other day as well, Nathan. You've got to keep one-upping yourself. You've got no choice, because at the end of the day, I don't know if Dan's left his job or whatever. I mean, presumably he has.
Dan didn't even have a job,
Well, whatever the case, he's now making money off videos, more money than he was before. So he is constantly having to one-up himself to not only to keep his viewers engaged, but also to build his subscriber base in general, really. And
see, I think the point of me doing these videos as well also does kind of, because a lot of people are saying, oh, you just got calling him out because he's got more subs and you're like jealous and stuff. But actually, I think partly to blame, this doesn't sound really horrible, but partly to blame is actually the audience, who almost like put us in this situation where we have to like try and one up ourselves, where if you could condition them to realize that actually what you're seeing is not real and that this is just being staged so you're interested, and then you could realize what the real stuff and what the real stuff isn't, it would make a huge difference to the Urbex community as a whole. Because
I'm not being funny, but you said about like, oh, you're only jealous because you've got more subscribers here and all this, like, but what does that make any difference if someone like Dan is like, literally, I'm going back through his channel now, just looking at it, and it's like found gun in drug dealer mansion, found gold, found spirits, found this, found that, and it's like everything is so fake. And like when you said about the one-upping, no wonder Dan's going so bad and he had to plant this bone and do everything else like that, because when you start off with, I found a gun, and this is going back to a year ago when he did Pink Floyd Mansion, and when he did like the other bits and pieces that he did in his very first videos, like Silver 100 Years in a Templar church, where he was actually in I don't think it was an abandoned church, and he was digging the floor up to get into it, and he's posting that all over there. And then he's like, amazing untouched hotel, fire brigade turn up and all this sort. And I'm like, is it any wonder why?
It's just clickbait, isn't it? It's what like everyone. I mean, this is why I was quite surprised again. Go back to the comments on the video that a lot of those comments are from people who we in the past have had run-ins with, and we call them the 28 days later haters, because they often give us like stick because of our videos. They're like, oh, they don't like us doing videos on places. It's all like photography and things like that, and they often call us out on clickbait, but I can see why when it's like Dan's videos and other people like him who do that kind of stuff, I can see why he'd get annoyed with that.
Since I left, it was one thing I've noticed since I stopped doing the exploring, which is for various reasons. I can't be bothered getting into that now. But one thing I've noticed since I stopped was that the community in general has become extremely volatile towards one another. To the point
we say this where we're in a podcast right now bashing other people.
That's the thing, though. No, that's the thing. That people will come back at us for saying what we're saying, and then we'll come back at them. And the thing is, that's what I'm talking about. It's a volatile environment. It's like if you go to one place and do something which you're not allowed to, goes against the Urbex code, some unwritten code that some people go against, some people don't believe in it, whatever. Like I think at the end of the day, you've got to remember that it's these. I guess Dan has done some questionable stuff along with some other explorers. One thing you've got to remember is that it's their choice, I suppose. The only problem that I have with it is that it can be extremely dangerous, not only for them but for their audience, because they're doing these stupid things, hitting down a wall in a building that's already falling down.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's a really good point, because imagine if someone had decided to copy that idea and do it themselves, and the building fell down on them. Could he technically be sued for that?
No.
He died.
No, not the person who died. No. I mean, could Dan be sued for that for giving the idea?
Dan can't be sued for that just because obviously someone's got an idea. It's not as much as it would be nice to see Dan brought.
It depends. I mean, if the parallel was, I think,
but it doesn't matter if just say for argument's sake, I went into a building today. And I smashed out several walls and other bits and pieces like that, and I was running through with sledgehammers and stuff. I posted the video up online, and just because one of my followers or subscribers decided that, oh yeah, look, he's been out doing it, I want to go and smash the absolute life out of a building somewhere and everything else like that, doesn't mean to say I'd get done for it. It's not me that actually handed.
You say that, but it does depend on how similar the situations are. Because if, for example, they had said in the video, oh, Dan gave us the idea for this, then you might have a different
it doesn't
perspective.
Matter. Like, literally, it doesn't matter whether it's not the fact that Dan gave him an idea. It's the fact that he made a video, and this is not me trying to stick up for Dan or anyone else that does this. It's not the fact that you post it online that you've actually given them the idea to do it. They are impressionable. Yes, don't get me wrong. People are impressionable and everything, but they have their own mind to work out what is right and wrong. So, okay, with clickbait and smashing buildings up and stuff like that, but unless Dan was stood there and handed them the hammer and said, right, you go and smash that wall up, then Dan could get done for it, obviously, because he was the one who told them to do it. But if someone goes and buys their own hammer of their own free will and then finds their own abandoned building and goes and smashes it up, okay, yes, Dan's partly to blame for that, or anyone else that does that, not just Dan, because obviously they've posted it and like they've made it almost acceptable to do. It doesn't mean to say that they should go and do it.
So I get what you're saying. I'm not saying I necessarily disagree with you, but what I'm saying is that from a legal standpoint, you may find there's actually precedent in other cases where people have had ideas directly from other people and have voiced so in whatever they've done, and those people have then been brought to court for it. So I'm not saying that he would actually successfully get sued, but he might be in some trouble if that happened.
I'm reading one of the comments. I think an interesting one is about that Andrew Chandler. But it's a shame when people fake things because it devalues legitimate fines from other people in the community. Personally, I find history and just the whole authentic much more appealing to watch, and lots of fake jumped up scares and whatnot, which is why I prefer your kind of content to you, Tazer, which, I think that sort of attitude is what a lot of people, I think, do watch, like from my videos as well, which I find for the people that comment. And there is a lot of older generation I'm quite surprised with that do.
Yeah, see, I'm not surprised by that at all, because I think the older generation are the ones that do tend to... they see through the fake.
But I think, exactly. And I think that's the thing, though, is like you're saying, it is attracting the younger generation, which can quite easily believe it. And it's knocking down the walls, nicking from abandoned places. It was a bit like that Joe Wells video, which I've never watched anything of his, really.
Yeah, did a video on him as well, didn't I?
It's horrible, and he's just smashing things up in there. It's I think as someone as an urbexer or someone that does explore abandoned places and appreciates them for what they are and the memories of the items that are left behind within inside, it's quite sad to see that people are just using these buildings to quite blatantly make money. And I know that's silly to say because I have ads on my videos, and yes, I do, but I've done it 2 years. I've not had massive amount of views. I think I've, quite openly say that I've, only earned about £300 in the 2 years in which I've done it, which is nothing. It's for the time I've done editing it, everything else, and I'm still going to continue to do it.
I don't think you're supposed to say this on YouTube, but I looked at my how much I've made over the last over the lifetime of my channel, and for anyone who's interested about the amount I make, I made $292 in the lifetime of my channel.
I think it comes down to, I think the issue that I've sort of seeing through, I don't know if you guys agree, is it kind of comes down to an audience based thing as well. If you've got like you just mentioned it then, if you've got an older person watching a video that's clearly fake, they're obviously going to have a different view on the video to someone that's 12, 13 years old that goes, I've got loads of comments here on the Mo Sarge video. I'm just going through them. Let me pick out one here. Hang on. Okay, this is not planned out. Oh, here we go. So yeah, bro, you're just a hater. The man risked his life and friends literally to entertain his fans. For you to call him fake is just disrespectful. Just.
I'm sorry, but I watched the Mo Sargi video right back when he first started doing stuff, and I think he was walking around an abandoned crypt that he had to climb underneath a tube underneath. I think I saw Josh's video do it, and then Mo Sargi when I'd done it, and it was absolute dribble. I mean, he was trying to make it out like a horror film, so he was going into one bit while one of his mates would go into another bit and clearly move stuff around and do stuff. But it was so fakely done and so shitely done that it was annoying to watch. I hate watching stuff. Do you know what? I don't care if somebody fakes something. At least do it properly, and not like Lewis Clark or anyone else like that. I don't mind like the fakery side of things, because obviously you've got to have some entertainment with things. Like, to the point where, I mean, I don't agree with completely faking it and trying to pass it off as real.
That's it, yeah.
I mean, fake it and pass it off as fake stuff or entertaining stuff, but at least do it properly. Mo Sargi's videos are so shitly done, it actually winds me up watching them. It's like, come on, no.
Well, here's another one.
It's like, what?
I was about to say, I've actually got a comment as well, actually, that might fit quite well with this.
Can I just read?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Can I just read mine out? Really? I've just found one. Okay, so Mo Sargi's entertainment. He don't have to be legit to explore. The main plot of his channel is about exploring. You could be 100%. Oh god, I can't read this. Tell he makes stuff up, but it's entertaining. His videos actually make me have chills. He gets clicks for a reason. It's because he has good content. And it just goes on.
See, like,
but the point about that is,
honestly,
you
like,
don't have to be legit to explore. Like, it's something I don't really understand. It's not
okay. I kind of get what they're saying. Like, they're saying that they can do it for entertainment, but that's the point where we're trying to say that there's a difference between doing it for entertainment and then making it known that you do it for entertainment. Say, the example I used in the video was like, if you're watching the X-Files, you know that shit ain't real, but it's still entertaining. And there's a difference between that and, you know, like Most Haunted, who were supposed to be this legit company who used to go around doing ghost explores and it was all real, and then they got found out as fake. There's a massive difference.
Nathan, how can you say that X-Files isn't real? Mate, the aliens are real, mate. Come on.
Yeah.
Look, it's on TV, so it's got to be real.
Exactly, yeah, that's how it works. So there's a comment on my video actually that I think sums it up quite well actually. It's from Abandoned Yorkshire, and it says, "Glad you've made this video. It's like a drug for them who think there's a load of money in it, YouTube, but instead of making original content, they jump on what is popular and ham it up and rinse it for all it's worth." And I feel like that is where Urbex is right now, is that they literally have got to the stage where it's popular, it gets clicks, let's push it as far as we can go.
Yeah, this is come back to me. We were sort of talking about it and pushing on it before, where basically, as people get into that mind frame of wanting to find something better, do something better, and they're pushing this content out, it becomes more demanding, and they're pushing themselves to create just fake rubbish, and it's because they're relying on it for a job. They're relying on it to make an income, and I think whatever you're doing on YouTube should only be, you know, your hobby. And fair enough, people can make money from it, just like you can in professional sports. But when they're a footballer, it only lasts for 20 years or, you know, 30 years max. And then you've got something as a backup plan.
You need to enjoy it as well. It can't just be like you go out there for a career. It needs to be something that you want to do.
Exactly. So you should be enjoying it as a hobby. And I think that's the problem, is because people are relying on it as that income base. They're pushing for this fake stuff, and that it's making it a problem for the younger generation watching it, and the people that stupidly believe it. All kids want to be YouTube. I have a 12-year-old. I'm stepdad to a 12-year-old, and it's all he says. And I have to say to him, no, you've got to look at that, think of what you'd want to do with it, and look at it as a hobby, but you need to look at a job as well. You can do it, and you can make an income, and you can do that. It's a very small percentage that do, but then great, yeah, fantastic. You might look at it as a job for that small time, but you've always got to have a backup plan.
So much we could talk about, but without going over ourselves over and over again, I think we're just going to be, you know, repeating ourselves. So thank you everyone who has been here. I think Lucas is about to run out of battery, so thank you. And Ross and obviously Warren as well. Thank you so much for being here. If you guys have any point of view, please do put it in the comments down below. If there's anything that we need to go over again at some point, we might do another podcast sometime.
I'd be down for that, definitely.
Yeah, it's been fun. So again, thank you so much for coming. Please go check out these guys' channels, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See you later, guys.
See you later, guys.
Bye.